Imagine, if you will, a flight takes off from Kuala Lumpur, headed for the city of Beijing. Everything is proceeding as planned when approximately 2 hours into flight, an air traffic controller monitoring his radar station bears witness to the unthinkable. An airplane, a giant Boeing 777 with 229 souls aboard, disappears from sight, completely vanishes without a trace. 5 long days pass, and yet the brightest minds, whose job it is to solve such conundrums, are left baffled and confused. Tonight you'll have a chance to share your theory as we discuss the mysterious disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. So find a comfortable seat, a working phone, and get ready to call, as these are conversations you can only have here and now on the Tampa Natives Show.
Otra vez. Come here. Let me tell you something. I remember Tampa, the way she used to be, the places we would run to, the faces we would see. Yes, I remember Tampa, those precious memories, a city rising on the move, a simple yet progressive groove. I remember Tampa, and she remembers me. Yeah. She remembers me.
Welcome to the Tampa Natives Show. Stay tuned now for the fastest 60 minutes in cable broadcast history. Live from the studios at TBCN, the home of the Tampa Natives Show. Join your hosts, Mario Nunez, the 15-minute girl, and Steve Canella, as they celebrate growing up in Tampa. From Shock Armstrong to Shakey's Pizza, from Braddock Street to Buffalo Avenue. Get ready to call in and tell us your stories, because sharing your memories has never been this much fun. And now, Mario Nunez, the 15-minute girl, and Steve Canella.
She remembers me.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this, your Thursday night, 7 o'clock edition of the Tampa Natives Show. As always, I'm seated alongside my broadcast partner,
Steve Canella.
And over here to my right,
Sally Nunez.
And I'm Mario Nunez, and we'd like to welcome you for joining, welcome you on this Thursday night edition. Welcome you for joining us. And thank you for joining us, and welcome to those joining us for the first time tonight. We know that tonight, because of our special topic, there are people that are joining us, Steve, for the very first time, and we're very, very excited to have you guys on board.
That is exciting. And
no
pun intended.
No pun intended.
Right.
Yeah.
And looking in on us tonight. We're going to get to the meat of the subject matter, which is, of course, as Rod Serling. And thank you, Rod Serling.
That was excellent.
For joining us from the great beyond to do that intro for us, which was very captivating.
I don't know how
Steve.
he did that.
Very captivating. We're going to get to your phone call certainly in just a few minutes, but as we do each and every week at the top of the show, we like to do what we call housekeeping here. We get some announcements out of the way early in the show. We also read some of our emails that came to us last week at the end of the show, and some that we just missed during the show last week. Last week's topic, Steve, remember, was the Tampa Natives experience.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, what happened was the show kind of got away from us a little bit. And
Sure.
It tends to do that. Near the end, it kind of speeds up.
Everything speeds up.
Every week.
We had some wonderful, wonderful emails from a few people. So we're going to go take a few minutes to read those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll start off. The first email that we got, and again, for those of you that missed last week's show, it is available on the archives. TampaNativeShow.com is the website address.
That's right.
And we encourage you to go to the website and have a look around if you've not been there before. But, of course, don't do that now. Stay with us until we get through with our show. But last week's show was, again, the Tampa Natives experience. We had some real heartfelt emails and phone callers last week. Thank you, one and all. Excuse me. And I'd like to read one for you right up at the top from one of our dearest fans and one of our sponsors, Miss Marilyn Messina. I'm ready now.
She goes on to say, I'll continue the theme of feeling as though we were all part of family, which is what we talked about last week on the show. And in reality, many of us have found that we are related to others that we didn't even know of as well. In my case, my grandparents, friends and relatives hung out together, she says in quotations. Their children, my parents' generation, did the same. And so did the next generation, my generation, she says. And down to our children and grandchildren. That's 5 generations that call their friends, parents, aunts and uncles, even though there's really no biological connection. That's that theory that, that 6 degrees of separation. In Tampa, we were all so very, very close. Then she goes on to say, for me personally, I love the feeling that I get when we have customers come to see us in the store who tell us they came to my grandparents' store back in the 1940s. Wow. Marilyn goes on to say, my family laughs at me because no matter where I go, I meet people I knew in the old neighborhood, and we stop and share stories of places we went to, events we attended, and all the friends that we once knew. I even have found relatives I never knew I had. Steve, she says,
that's right.
That's how I'm connected with you. Tampa is has a big city feel, she says, but it has all the sentiment and heart of a small town, and that captures really the Tampa Natives experience. Thank you for doing all you do to keep the Tampa memories alive. And Marilyn, thank you so much for being a show sponsor, for your generosity, for your love, and for writing us this wonderful email.
Beautifully written.
Donna, you have one as well?
I do have one. This one is from Jim Carney, one of our best Tampa Native fans. And he says, one time when I was in 1st grade, I got on the wrong bus going home from school. That school bus was traveling east on Swan Avenue, and I realized we were approaching my grandparents' home. I got off the bus, went to Grandma's house, but no one was home. I didn't panic. I walked back west on Swan and got about a 1/4 mile and passed 2 men preparing to deliver copies of the afternoon Tampa Times. Those 2 men took an interest in this clearly lost little boy. They dropped what they were doing and drove me home. And that was a small town Tampa. And you're exactly right.
And again, that captures
that's a
perfectly,
great story,
Norman Rockwell, man.
Yeah.
Small town USA, but of course, with a definitive sense of that Ybor City, that West Tampa, that had that whole thing going on. Yeah. And Jim, thank you so much for writing that. What a memory.
And another great fan and supporter.
Terrific fan. Thank you, Jim. We expect to hear from you tonight as well. And Steve, you've got one?
Yeah, we sure do. We have one here. This is Donna Jones. She's with the Drew Park group on Facebook. And, well, anyway, she writes, born at Tampa General Hospital in 1960, I have a sense of pride at being raised in such a beautiful city with such a deep history. Simpler times, long-lasting friendships, communities that came together. Neighborhoods seemed like little cities at that time. We walked all over, rode bikes. We never met a stranger. And I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. It's a sense of home, awesome show, and a wonderful video of Laurie Park. That was a cool video.
And that video of Laurie Park was outstanding.
It was very rare.
That is up on our website currently as well. So if you haven't had the opportunity to see that, we encourage you to do so at your first opportunity. Donna Jones and representing Drew Park, thank you for being a fan, thank you for submitting that wonderful, wonderful email to us. We've got a couple of pictures we want to show you, and then we'll get to our show in earnest. First picture, let's bring up Ray Zilla. That's our friend Ray Villadonga. Ray is a Tampa native, an excellent and fantastic musician, a dear friend. And just Tuesday night, Steve, he put on a concert.
He sure did.
Free concert at Curtis Hickson Park.
Wonderful.
We couldn't have had better weather. There's Ray doing what Ray does, entertaining us. He was there with a couple of members. Actually, he was there with his drummer from his band, Ray Zilla's Dreamboats, which is Joe Bencomo, also sitting in and accompanying as a percussionist. The great Oscar Rodriguez. Many of you will remember a group in the 70s called Oscar Santana. And Oscar is a percussionist. Oscar sat in that night. So it was really, really a fun night. For those of you that might be interested, the next time you see a Facebook event posted and Ray Zilla's Dreamboats are playing, be it at Skipper's, be it at Central, I'll try it again, at Curtis Hickson Park, or wherever they may be playing, whatever venue they may be playing.
The Hideaway, you mentioned.
Ella's, they played at Ella's restaurant before in
yeah.
Seminole. Please make it a point to get out there and come see Ray. He puts on an amazing show, plays with all his heart.
He really does.
And I love his music. It's all Tampa.
Yep.
It's he's an original artist. All of the songs that he plays are original songs,
Yeah.
and they speak to us, especially those of us that are Tampa natives, because of course that's what he drew from,
Yes.
the inspiration
Very
for his
heartfelt.
music. Also, let's bring up the graphic, tropical heat wave, while we're talking about Ray Villadonga. Of course, those of you that know Ray know that he's been a disc jockey, a radio personality, and he's had a show on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on WMNF 88.5 here in Tampa for the last 25 years.
25 years.
Every year, usually in September, but this year in May. And there's the dates right there. Saturday,
I think it was
May
May
the 9th.
last
Yep.
year.
Friday and Saturday, May the 9th and 10th. Tropical heat wave. It's WMNF, which is public radio, much like we're here at Public Access TV. It's their large fundraiser. And every year they put this on. There's live music, there's wonderful vendors, there are street games to be played, and wonderful opportunities to purchase things. All proceeds go towards helping fund WMNF, which is public radio. Please, if you're in Tampa, if you're coming to Tampa, plan to attend.
Sounds like fun.
We'll be there, and we go each and every year. And we've got one
more
more event coming up that we would be remiss if we didn't
Festa
mention.
Italiana.
This is even a little bit sooner, right?
This will be April 6th, Sunday, April 6th. And in fact, we're going to be there. The Tampa Natives
Yes,
Show.
we are.
We're going to have a presence there. We're going to have a tent.
We are
and
going to have a booth. We're going to
we'll
have
some pictures and also maybe some shirts to sell.
There's rumor afoot that we may
That's
have
what I heard.
we may have some brand new Tampa Natives
That's right.
T-shirts. So those of you that are in Tampa or in St. Pete, anywhere in the Tampa Bay area, please make your plans to attend. It's a short drive across the bridge. If you're coming from Lakeland, it's not that far away. It's going to be in Centennial Park in Ybor City, in the heart of Ybor City. Saturday, there's a bocce ball tournament and an Italian idol singing contest, and then
It's a lot of
Sunday
fun.
is the festival itself. And you're going to want to be there for this one. This one's, I think, 17 years now in running. So
Great
join
entertainment,
us.
great
We
food,
will
too.
be there. Tampa Natives Show crew will be there in person. So
Looking forward to that.
that's
should
going to
be
be
fun.
great. And the weather's usually spectacular. April is usually cool still and dry.
And I'm glad you said Tampa Bay area.
Hello, Steve. Hello, Steve. You know I'm not going to mess that up. All right. 10 minutes
never
into
has
our
to.
show, it's time to go ahead and now solicit for your calls. In just a couple of minutes, we'll give you that phone number. But first, we heard from some of our fans this week, and they were asking, hey, Mario, what is it that makes you so interested, and how do you figure that the Tampa Natives Show ties into the mysterious disappearance of Flight 370, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. Well, let me offer this to you, for those of you Tampa Native Show fans that may be interested in that connection. There's about 4 or 5 different reasons I can give you. First and foremost, let's be perfectly clear that on January 1st, 1914, commercial aviation in the United States was born right here in Tampa. Tony Janus operated his amphibious aircraft from St. Pete, flew across the bay, delivered his first passenger here to Tampa, and thus, henceforth, commercial aviation was born here in the United States of America. That was the first passenger flight. You can look that up. I'm not making that up.
It's pretty special.
You can't make stuff like that
Yeah.
up. So that connects us to civil aviation, commercial aviation. Number 2, those of you that have flying in and out of Tampa have probably taken notice that Tampa's International Airport is one of the finest in the United States of America, and although it could be small for a place like London or a place like Singapore, it's certainly prototypically viable. It's the concept of landside and airside, and those of you that have flown in and out of Tampa know how efficient it is. So Tampa can also boast one of the finest airports in the nation. Thirdly, one of your 3 Tampa Natives Show hosts spent the better part of the last 30 years working on an airplane. I'll let you guess which one. And for those of you that know our show, you know which one it is. And I personally am intimately interested and intrigued and flummoxed and perplexed by what has happened to Malaysia Airlines 370. So for that reason, we thought tonight, as topical as it is, we would solicit for your calls, and perhaps you can share in conversation some of your theories as to what you think might have happened. Now, there's another couple of reasons, one of which I'll let Steve address because he mentioned something to that effect when we were talking in pre-production this week. Steve, what say you, young man?
Well, I mean, my thought is, there's definitely more questions and more theories than there are answers. We know that. That's something we know.
Why are we connected to the show, Steve? Why are we connected to that topic?
Well, mainly, the Janus, as you mentioned.
Yes.
But there was another thing we talked about.
Remember?
I don't remember. What was it?
Was it had something to do with Quito, Ecuador?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, exactly. My trip to Ecuador. It was recent on my
No,
mind.
it's not that. Want me to give you what it is?
What was it?
Who was a fearful flyer before he...
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes, I was.
There you go. Look
afraid
into
of
the
flying.
camera and tell those thousands
It's
of
true.
viewers out there.
No, I always.
I had to remind him, folks.
Thanks. I pushed it
Because
back in my
he's
memory.
still
Yeah.
fearful.
He's trying to get over it.
Yeah.
Well, I had a fear of flying for many, many
Sure.
years. But I did
kinda
go to
did
Ecuador.
too.
It was a year ago.
Yes.
Thanks to Stephanie Argudo, Chiefless Plantain Chips.
And who got the ticket
And,
for you? I'm sorry.
And that was and your help as
Oh,
well.
hello.
Yeah, and American Airlines.
Thank you.
And couldn't have done it without you, by the way. Thank
Well,
you.
no, brother, but the fearful flying was an actual. It was something that you
Yeah.
dealt with for many years.
Yeah, I was definitely a white knuckle flyer.
Yep.
I would hang onto the seat the whole way.
Yep.
And this was about a 4.5 hour flight. And I'll tell you what, I was calm, completely calm. But I think you know what the reason was? I was in
Drinks.
first class.
Yep.
And they kept giving me wine.
There you go.
So that had to be the answer.
Good
I
Italian
have
in his
something
wine.
to add also.
Darling, you have the floor.
Yes.
Go ahead.
We sometimes veer off the beaten path on the Tampa Natives Show, and why not on this? Just like that airplane, we're taking the beaten path on this. We're not taking the beaten path,
Right.
and we veered off, way off.
Haven't we?
And everybody's talking about it everywhere, so we just figured it would be fun to talk about and get somebody else's ideas of what they think might have happened.
All right, so now's the time when we're going to solicit for your phone call. So, Becky, if you want to flash that once again, look at that beautiful 777 right above our head. That's a Malaysia. That is the exact aircraft that nobody can seem to find. You know, the airplane is 209 feet from tail to nose. It's 215 feet wingtip to wingtip. That is a massive, massive aircraft. And for that aircraft to just disappear completely from sight, off of radar screens, as Rod Serling mentioned earlier, completely disappear, is unheard of. And it's comical because once you see, CNN today I was watching because I've been doing research up until we left to come to the studio tonight. They don't know. And to watch these producers get in the ear of the anchors on live TV and tell them, ask another probing question to those people that are retired airline pilots that are now in the advisory capacity with CNN, they have no idea. And the look on their faces, stop asking me the same
It's
question.
comical
Because
at
I
this
have no
point.
answers. Our phone number, Stevie, give them our phone number.
That is 977-6800. It's on the screen for you as well. 977-6800. Also, the website address, which not now, but it's tampanativeshow.com, and the email is goodtimes@tampanativeshow.com.
Very good. Thanks for giving us those, Stevie. We're going to concentrate on the phone number for right now, 813-813, because we know for a fact we have some people watching us from out of state, out of town. We got a little bit of a ground rule that we want to give you tonight. When we start your phone call tonight, we know that there are callers already calling. Steve's got his little timer here on the table, and we're going to give you 2 minutes. Think 2-minute drill, think 2-minute warning. We're going to give you 2 minutes to give us your theory. We promise not to interrupt you. We'll take good notes. Make sure you give us your Bolita number so we can include you in the Bolita drawing at the end of the show, which we will be doing tonight. But 2 minutes, so be succinct. Give us your best theory, what you think might happen. And listen, we can be from the ridiculous to the sublime. I want to point out on the table with us here, you'll see that we have Mr. Joe Nome. Joe Nome, Tampa native, if you will. Joe Nome, if you can see, and I don't know that you can because he's sitting a little bit far away. We'll get a close-up on him a little bit later. Joe Nome is blindfolded tonight, and there's a reason for that. Because he's a fearful flyer as well. And Joe Nome doesn't want to hear some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. So his eyes are covered, his ears are covered. Okay, bring that in on the single. And maybe you can see him. There you go. As you can see, Joe Nome is complete. You can't see his eyeglasses. So he's here with us tonight to give us a little bit of inspiration and maybe some motivation. But Joe Nome does not want to, he's not going to be a party to this conversation tonight.
And none of us really are making fun of what's happened to the people on the plane, the crew and the families. And if that had been me and my husband was on that plane, I would be in a heap on the floor and just, unconsolable. So we have total empathy with everybody that's involved in the flight. And
we are suspending.
Something.
Thank you for bringing that up, darling, because we don't want anybody to think that we're making light of the situation. This is something that for the people that are directly involved,
it's terrible.
It's horrific.
Tragic,
and I'm thinking that's not even adequately describing it. So we
people.
don't want anybody to call us tonight and tell us, how dare you? Because that's not the intent. What we're talking about tonight, and why does that surprise me? What we're talking about tonight is we just want to hear what you think might have happened. We're going to record it. You've got 2 minutes to tell us. Give us your Bolita number when the timer goes off. We're going to go to our next caller. And as soon as that phone line hangs up, that's your indication to give us a call.
It's so bizarre. It is.
It is, really.
Nobody has any idea. So, ladies and gentlemen,
unimaginable.
let's get the show started with 20 minutes after the hour. We're going to take your calls up until we do our Bolita drawing. So, thank you again. Let's go to caller on line 4. Caller, you're on the air with the Tampa Natives Show. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Good evening. This is Hugh from South Tampa.
Hi, Hugh. How are you?
I'm doing good.
I'm going to turn you up just a touch, and I'm going to let Autria know in the sound booth that we're turning you up just a tick because you were kind of coming in a little bit low.
Okay.
There you are. We
Much
can hear
better,
you perfectly fine. Hi, Hugh.
Hi, how y'all doing?
I'm going to
Good.
stay quiet now. You're on the clock. Go, Hugh. Tell me what you think happened to this airplane.
Okay. I think it's not without precedent, as has been written, that there have been people who have used passports to get out of there, and these people were, the two in question, were bound for Europe. So that in itself is not unusual. However, what is unusual is that there was no indication at all that there was any problem with the airplane at all. So that would lead one to believe that there was a terrorist attack. That would be my best guess. Now, they haven't found anything yet. They're still searching. Also, it's not without precedent that in that area there have been 2 or 3 other airplanes that have been found much later, like a week or more later. So that's a possibility also. But my best guess is that it is a terrorist attack. That's what I think.
And your Bolita number tonight, Hugh?
It's 23.
23. You've still got about 45 seconds to go. Let me just throw this out there for your consideration. The terrorist attack theory has been beaten down, and I think they're actually kind of not looking at that quite as much, simply because they don't have any indication that the airplane blew up or disintegrated in flight or in any way came apart. They just, to be quite honest with you, Hugh, they just don't know what happened. But tonight we're soliciting for your theory, and we've got you down as possible terrorist attack. Would that be accurate?
That would be accurate, and the fact that they don't know and haven't found anything certainly doesn't preclude that, at this point.
Right. No. And we agree with you, but we've got you down number 23, and we know you're a big Rod Serling fan. What did you think of Rod Serling?
Well, I came in about 3 minutes after, so was that something that had been done before?
No, Rod did this just for this show.
Oh,
so,
okay.
From the great beyond,
Okay.
we were able to contact him. We channeled him, his energy, and he came through tonight. So when this is uploaded onto our website, you make sure you go back and you check that.
I'll go back and check it. Okay.
Thank you for always being there for us,
Thanks
Hugh.
for calling.
Thank you, Hugh.
Have a good evening.
You as well. Thank you so much. That's Hugh Perrette from South Tampa. We've got him down. Hugh thinks
Terrorist.
there's a
Terrorist.
connection with the passports, with the 2 guys that were going to Europe, and possibly a terrorist
But,
attack.
satellite imagery would have picked up an explosion, though, wouldn't it have?
Correct.
You would think.
You would think somebody
Well-
would have seen something somewhere.
The thing that we're finding, the
Anything.
thing that we know is that when an airplane blows up in flight, it leaves a heat signature. It leaves a signature on, if there's an explosion, there is telemetry that comes across on the radar that lets people know that's what happened. So then they know, okay, that happened, so now we've got to go look for the wreckage. In this case, that never happened. We can talk about the transponders in just a minute, but we don't want to leave anybody out. There's a line open. Let me go ahead and go to line 5. Do we have a caller on line 5, guys? Do we? All right, let's go to line 5. Caller, you're on the air with the Tampa Natives Show. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
This is Jim Carney calling from Tampa, Florida.
Hi, Jim
there,
Carney.
Jim.
You've got 2 minutes. Tell us what you think happened to that airplane, sir.
Okay, I want to cede my 2 minutes back. All I want to do, I want to give you a Bolita number,
Okay.
39.
All right.
I want to compliment Rod Serling and any assistance that he got in that great introduction.
Thank you.
And there's one person up there on the host panel who has the most experience, the most knowledge on this, and the only thing I want to add is that these mysteries take a long time to solve. It's a long, laborious process. I think it will be solved, but we're way too early to do it tonight. Okay, Mario, I'm going to sign off and give you the rest of my time.
Thank you. So, thank you so much, Jim. We
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Jim.
We
Thank
got
you,
your
Jim.
number
Yeah.
down as well. So he's ceding back the balance of his time, which is 1 minute and 4 seconds. So I'll take that from him and say thank you for deferring, Jim, to the most experienced among us on the panel. I can tell you that the 777 airplane is a magnificent machine. Boeing has put so much into this particular aircraft. There are literally so many redundant systems on board the aircraft, technically speaking, that for something like this to happen, for two transponders, because it has two different transponders that work independently of each other, for them both to be disabled, turned off, is highly, highly unlikely. Again, there are redundancies built into the system. If one system goes down, there's another system that picks up. Also understand this, when the Air France flight came apart, leaving Sao Paulo on the way to Paris, they had something that happened to that aircraft that was a bit of an anomaly also, the pitot tube, which is what basically is used to indicate airspeed and gives the pilots their indication of how fast they're traveling, froze over. The airplane then went into a different kind of an operation because the computer kicked in and it thought, well, we're going too slow, we need to increase the speed. That caused a whole nother host of problems. Things snowballed, the airplane came apart. They were also in some very turbulent, they were flying through some very turbulent storms. Thank you. But at the same time, I got to cut myself off. But at the same time, we also knew that that airplane came apart because that showed up on the radar. And here's another thing to consider that we've heard this week, and I heard, and it kind of also gave me pause with regard to Malaysia's Airlines Flight 370. When an airplane like the Air France airplane leaving Sao Paulo gets into trouble, and it starts to, systems start to fail, and it starts to all of a sudden shut down, if it's a major electrical situation or a hydraulic problem, it automatically sends us a message to maintenance, to Air France's maintenance, letting them know that there's a problem with that aircraft. So when that airplane finally came apart, they had received at Air France's maintenance a list of 10, 12 items that were shutting down and problematic in succession until the airplane finally ceased to exist. That didn't happen with this airplane. This airplane vanished completely from the radar screen. It just vanished. They're saying that it turned around and it flew back to the west. They're concentrating now on the Indian Ocean, which is an amazing, immense, vast area to have to search. I'm saying to you, we don't know what happened. I have my theories. We'll share with you as we get closer to the end of the show. And of course, I'll ask Steve and Sally to chime in as well. But we want to hear from you. And please, load those lines up. We're going to go to caller on line 4 as the caller on line 5 is being qualified. So please, when you see that we hang up a phone line, do call in. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, Mario, guys. This is David Video calling.
There he is. Hi there, David.
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, one thing, and I mentioned this to you on the Facebook thread that you started. One thing that I found kind of interesting is when the Malaysians released pictures of the people who they believe had the fake passports. One thing that I found kind of interesting is that when they presented them to the media, the swarms of media that were there, they just like printed the pictures just held up printed pictures on a literally like a piece of paper, and it looked like as they wrote the names of the individuals and Sharpie on the top, and the pictures weren't that clear. And then when they showed the patient, the passenger manifest, it was like it appeared to be a copy of a copy of a copy.
Okay.
And it just seems, that they just it was. I don't want to say it was funny, but to see these officials hold up these two pieces of paper with pictures on them, and all the media just taking pictures of.
So let me guide you, because you got about a minute left. Let me guide you into. Are you leaning like Hugh did towards perhaps terrorism? Are you saying that the passports and the fudged passports are kind of behind? There's something nefarious happening?
I'm not sure, because I think the fake passports were individuals trying to flee politically the region. It's so unusual that it just vanished.
There you go. There you go. So I'm going to put you down for very weird that it vanished. There's a category for that there. We have a very weird that it vanished category. And give us your Bolita number.
46.
46. Thank you, David. Listen, I'm with you on this one. we don't have any answers. We don't have any answers, and the media doesn't have any answers. The Chinese government is not. Thank you. The Chinese government is not necessarily being very helpful, but at the same time, they don't have any answers either. So it's not like we even know where to start looking. You know, if there's an explosion and something happens, then we know, okay, the debris field has to be here. Let's start looking here.
Very quickly, the fact that it took, from what I understand, 8 hours from the time that the advantage to the time the news got to the States, 8 hours had passed. I think that's very unusual too.
Yes, and that's why the area has now broadened out, because they know they could have theoretically flown for a lot longer in any one of those compass point directions. Thank you for your call, Davey. We appreciate it.
All right, guys. Good night. Have a good night.
Good night. We do have a line open now. Callers, that number is 813-977-6800. There it is on your screen. Please do give us a call. We've got a caller on line 5. And we've got lines open. This has been great, Stevie. I thought we would get this kind of response tonight, so please.
And it's proven to be true.
Pick up the phone and give us a call tonight. We're talking about the Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 that nobody seems to know where it went to. Caller, you're on the air with the Tampa Natives Show. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Okay, my name is Cliff Callender. I'm calling from Leesburg, Virginia. I do have an opinion relative to the Air Malaysia or Malaysian Airline incident, event, or whatever you care to call
Clifford, before we start the clock on you, let me ask you, is this your first time calling?
This is my second time calling, but one time I couldn't get through.
All right, well, we're going to give you a bell ring, because this is the first time I think we talked to Clifford Callender.
In a long time.
And for those of you that don't know, I'm going to rip the mask off this Lone Ranger right now and say, this is my dear, dear friend, Clifford Callender. I've known him for about 30 years. We flew together back at American Airlines. He's a dear friend. He also is a licensed pilot. He went through pilot training and was educated at Embry-Riddle University right here in Florida. So Clifford, thanks for calling, my brother. And listen, we are keenly interested. We're going to give you a little more than the 2 minutes, because this is your first time calling as a licensed pilot. Let's hear what you have to say.
Well, you know what? From that perspective, I really appreciate it. You know, when I review all of the information that we are receiving from the news outlets, no one really knows what happened. No. I know it was mentioned earlier that if there were, many people believe it was some sort of terrorist account. But just like you referenced earlier, there would be a heat signature. We have satellite technology that can detect whether there was a temperature change in the water, whether it was 1 or 2 or 3 degrees. And we've got, tens of thousands of satellites orbiting the Earth. So we've got the entire planet mapped completely. However, there may be an area of ambiguity that this plane might have flown through or flown in, similar to the Bermuda Triangle, that no one really knows anything about. But that's just supposition, and we really don't know. But I think your other hosts made mention that there was no indication that there was a problem. Every airline, every flight, there is a discrete frequency that they have. Not only are they talking to air traffic control, but they're usually talking or in communication to the assigned dispatcher of that particular flight. So if there were an emergency, we would have knowledge of that. But it's, and the fact that there is no evidence or no remnants of what was once an aircraft that we can see, that leads to a lot of suspicion. But 3/4 of the planet is covered with water, so
And a lot of those areas, there are, like you say, areas of ambiguity where radar may not cover, because unlike land masses where there are cell phone towers, where there are radar stations and beacons, everything is covered, especially over land. But if you get out into the Indian Ocean or the middle of the Atlantic, it gets a little harder to follow some of those. But what's interesting here, and it was brought to my attention by Richard Quest. I was watching Richard Quest on CNN. Quest means business. And he was telling us that where this airplane was lost, there are 3 different radar stations. There's the one from Kuala Lumpur, there's the one from Vietnam, and there's the one from Indonesia, that, let's just say for the sake of argument, each have 200-mile radiuses on their radar sweeps, and each of those intersect that area where this airplane disappeared. So theoretically, it didn't just disappear from Kuala Lumpur's radar sweep. It disappeared from all three of them. All three of them lost. The airplane just disappeared. And that's the part that I think has even the most experienced captains. You see them on MSNBC, on CNN.
Shaking their heads.
30 years, they were flying, 777 qualified, and they just have no answers.
Yeah.
No answers.
You're absolutely right. Just like we have
weird.
redundancies as far as systems, there are redundancies in terms of the navigational aids that we use to get from point A to point B, and that the authorities use to track the progress of a particular flight. So I don't know what happened.
It's
Clifford, we're going to find out, like Jim Carney said, and it may take a minute, but I think just today, for the first time, I can't watch all the news agencies at the same time every day. But I was over on CNN for a hot minute, and during today, for the first time, I heard literally, this was almost comical. The anchor turned to the retired pilot, commercial captain, and asked him, so what about, and he stopped short of saying the A word, aliens in this case, and the captain turned to him and he, with a sheepish grin, said, "We're going to leave the aliens out of it for this second."
Yeah.
And then at that point, an eerie silence, and all the anchor could do was look at the captain and go, "Do do 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 do," because that's where we are.
It was a very awkward
That's where we are,
moment.
and they were laughing at each other because they're asking each other questions that they know they have no answers for.
I think there's a lot of people asking those
And that's why we're doing the show tonight. Clifford, thanks so much for calling in, my brother. Can we get your lucky Bolita number from 1 to 75?
Is it a number that's given to me, or is it just a random number?
No, it's one use. It's of your choosing between 1 and 75.
Oh, okay. 35.
Okay.
Wow, 35 is all yours, my brother. Listen, thank you for calling in. Get over here to Florida, man. We want to see you.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully I didn't mess up.
No, man, you did great. We love you. My parents are listening, so they're listening to you as well.
Take care.
All right, Cliff, thanks for calling. Bye-bye now.
What a great call.
Cliff Callender from Leesburg, Virginia. So Leesburg's online tonight. We got another caller online? Wow. All right, very good. Keep the calls coming, ladies and gentlemen. We've got another line open. We've got about 24 minutes to go in show. We'd like to just keep those calls coming.
Let's get some
so 813,
ideas.
thank you, Becky. 977-6800 is the call, Stevie.
You know this
Hot and heavy.
I know this whole thing is like a combination of Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes.
In Search Of.
Remember In Search
and
Of?
the Twilight Zone. Oh, I love In Search Of.
In Search Of with its host.
Leonard Nimoy.
And you can
And
throw in
X-Files. Thank you.
aliens
Thank you.
in
Becky's
there
whispering
for
in our
me.
That's right.
Our director and producer, Becky Yatas, whispering in our ear. Don't forget X-Files and CSI. We need all of that now.
And Ancient Aliens.
And Ancient Aliens. We need all of that now. And let's I want to bring something back up that Cliff Callender just mentioned a moment ago in his call. He said, we have telemetry, we have technology that maps the entire. We have tens of thousands of satellites that are flying the globe at all times.
You see everything.
Watching all of this.
We have technology that we don't even know
And I
about.
heard something today, too, that was pretty interesting. There's the stuff that we know in our lives, okay, in this realm.
Yeah.
There's the stuff that the commercial airline industry, they all subscribe to that telemetry and that navigation and those satellites and those transponders and those radars. And then there's the stuff that the military does.
Another realm.
And that's another layer completely.
Yeah.
The military has stuff that we don't know about.
Super secret
Way more
stuff.
Quite honestly, that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And they're tracking the movements of all these aircrafts, because don't you think that with the stuff going on in Russia and Ukraine right now, that we're not watching everything that takes off from any airstrip anywhere.
Even more so.
Or Venezuela. Or even Cuba. And there's nothing really happening there, but I'm just saying, we got eyes everywhere. So for this airplane to vanish,
it's very bizarre,
and nobody see it or hear it, it lands somewhere and nobody sees that.
Somebody just went.
I mean, that's just.
All right, caller line 4 or line 5, guys, help me out. All right. Caller, thank you for your patience. You're on the air with the Tampa Natives Show. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Mario, it's Marilyn Messina from Tampa.
Hi, Marilyn. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Well, I have kind of a different theory. First of all, I don't think the plane has crashed. I think it's been hijacked and it's landed someplace.
Okay.
So if I were looking, not only would I be looking in the water, I'd be checking the fuel capacity of that plane, how far it could have flown before it approached and was able to land in an airport capable of handling a plane that size. I do believe that the 2 stolen passports have something to do with it, But I'm also concerned about the fact that there were 20 employees from a tech company.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps they had some maybe secret weapon knowledge that their company was working on, and this plane was hijacked for the knowledge that these people have.
That's what I think.
And, you know, now, I don't know what the fuel capacity is, and is there any such thing with this plane for in-flight refueling?
No.
Okay, it couldn't.
No.
Okay. Because, I mean, my husband and I were talking and let's say Iran does have this plane.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not going to say they've got it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the plane has crashed. I think it's landed someplace and somebody's keeping it undercover for whatever was on that plane, whether it was a cargo that was precious that we don't know about, or whether it was the information that these men had in their brains.
Could be.
You've got some
Interesting
time left. Keep
concept,
talking, Marilyn.
yeah.
I don't want to stop you. You're on a wonderful roll
That's
right here.
I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know it's far-fetched, but so is everything else.
Well,
Everything. It could be anything.
Let me address a couple of the things that you mentioned early on. And I heard this today, and I heard it earlier as well, because that was something that was brought up in conversations day 2, day 3. The airplane is way, way too big for it to land anywhere. And nobody. First of all, it's got to be a certain. It can be about a 6,000. It can be up to 6,000 feet in length. The airstrip. If you're going to land it there and never take it off again, because you're going to need a longer airstrip to once again take off from there. So if you're going to land it somewhere, leave it there. You can land on a short strip. But an airplane this size makes a hell of a lot of noise when it lands. It's huge, so it's not just going to come in and nobody's going to know or see it.
If it's a communist country,
No.
they don't have the ability to give us that information.
Well, and China's not being very helpful in the discovery of information about this, but that's another thing.
Yeah.
These movements of aircraft this size are being tracked not just by civilian radar and reconnaissance, but also military telemetry. So
now one more thing.
Go ahead.
If the transponder was turned off, is it possible for a plane this size to fly under the radar so that it is undetected?
it can, but again, to fly under the radar is to say close to the hard deck, which is to say you've got to be below the highest elevation, because the radar sweep is, if you're flying under the mountain range and the radar's picking everything up above the mountains, then you can fly literally, that's where that expression comes from, flying under the radar.
Right.
But you're talking about an aircraft that's 200 feet long and 200 feet wide. This is not a little Cessna that can hide somewhere and drop off, you know, in the corner in the grassy area of the land strip. This is a massive, massive airplane. It's highly, highly, not only impossible, but probably improbable that any of what you're describing happened. Now, as far as the technology on board the aircraft, that's the first I hear about somebody being on the aircraft with that, you know, with secrets, trade secrets,
Top
this, that, and the
secret.
other. We're getting closer to the 15-minute mark, and then we're going to get close to the end of the show. We're going to share with you our thoughts on this.
Okay, I'm anxious to hear them.
Yeah, but and stay tuned. Give us your bulletin number.
Well, I'm going to pass on that because I'm one of the sponsors.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? If
And you might win some
we're giving
olive
away
oil.
your product
That's
tonight.
right.
So
Olive
if
oil.
you win, you're just going to have to give yourself a bottle of olive oil. So
And give me 24.
all right, 24.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I'm watching the show till the very end.
Thank you,
Great.
Marilyn. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
She'll probably win.
And you know, she made some valid points there. The thing about the communist country or the political thing, that's this airplane. I don't think can be anywhere on land unless it's crash landed. Now that's possible, but again, when you turn off a transponder, be it manually or otherwise, and in a massive electrical failure on the airplane, that message gets sent to the company. The transponder's been turned off. You know, somewhere in there, it's recognized that. So now we've got to find another way to track this airplane.
All I know is a plane like that size does not disappear. It just doesn't disappear.
Well, David Copperfield has made giant
it certainly
airplanes.
has disappeared.
David Copperfield. I'm going to give you a little hint of foreshadowing. Here's a spoiler alert. You know, before too much longer, people are going to have to start discussions about Area 51, and people are going to have to start using the Bermuda Triangle angle, just because there are, for those of you that are movie fans, I don't know if any of you remember the movie Final Countdown, but it's a movie about 1977, 78. You can look it up online, Google it, Final Countdown. It's a theoretical. The USS Nimitz is on the high seas. Martin Sheen is in the movie. Hal Holbrook is in the movie. On the high seas, It's an aircraft carrier, the USS Nimitz. They're going through maneuvers. They launch a few planes off the front end. They're flying their maneuvers out in the Pacific, and all of a sudden an electrical storm comes up. And it's one of those that has a vortex, and it's just weird, and the radio signals get crazy, and all of a sudden the airplanes are lost in that vortex. And the next thing you know, the USS Nimitz goes through the vortex as well. And after all of this, they come out on the backside. It's calm seas. And the next thing you know, they're trying to figure out what happened. And on the radio broadcast that all the sailors are listening to, it's like Abbott and Costello. And the next thing they realize, it's December 6th, 1941.
Oh, Flight 19.
And that's the premise of that movie. And now they have a conundrum. Well, they realize this can't be. But then more things start to happen, and they fall victim to the possibility that maybe this is December 6, 1941. Well, we all know what happened December 7th, and now they have to decide, do we intervene?
Yeah.
Do we stop the Japanese from bombing Pearl Harbor? It's just a fascinating movie, and one of my favorites of all time. Where do these screenplays come from if they don't come from somebody's imagination? You know, when H.G. Wells created War of the Worlds, that was something that captivated a lot of people and caused quite a stir.
I have something captivating to say.
Oh, you have a captivating something to say, darling?
We have 15 minutes left, and we have several birthdays tonight. We have Randy McClure's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Randy.
And our former producer, Eric Cups, is having a birthday.
Happy birthday, Eric.
Happy birthday, Eric.
We miss you, Eric. And also, Laura Taylor Roque is having a birthday.
South Tampa Survivors. Happy birthday. There's a bell ring for you guys. What line are we going to, guys? Because we don't want to miss anybody.
5, I think.
All right, I'm going to stay quiet for a minute. Caller. Stevie, get ready for... Caller, you're on the air with the Tampa Natives Show. Thanks for your patience. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Bruce in Tampa.
Hey, Bruce from Tampa. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Bruce, you got 2 minutes. Tell us what you think happened to that airplane, man.
No one has mentioned anything about cell phones of the passengers.
Right.
You or I lost a cell phone. Can't, with the technology, it could be tracked where that phone is.
Well, GPS. Can I address that real quick? I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'm going to say that they have addressed that. I heard that people on the ground were calling cell phones to their loved ones that were on that airplane, and the cell phones are just ringing. Right. They're not going to voicemail. They're not saying, doo-doo-doo, the number you have reached has been disconnected. They're just ringing. But I also know that if you took... Go ahead.
Someone took over the plane, and everybody on board knew there was danger ahead. Couldn't they text...
Right, of course they would have. We know on 9/11 because people on those airplanes that went into the towers called their loved ones from the airplane before they impacted the towers. That didn't happen. This airplane was flying along, and then it was just gone.
And then it wasn't.
It was flying along.
If there's no technology to track cell phones, I think it's just an explosion in the air and everything just disintegrated.
Well, but if it had, there would be,
there would be something.
You hear the flight attendants on the airplane always tell you when they're giving you your safety announcements that your seat cushions can be used as a flotation device. How many seats are on an airplane with 299 people? Not only that, but the galley complexes have styrofoam in them. There are plenty of parts of that airplane that would float and float until it got to the next coast, wherever it's going. They just don't sink.
Right.
You would see that. We don't have any of that. Anywhere. Anything.
Nothing.
So I'm just saying, where is this massive aircraft? And then I refer you back to the USS Nimitz and that electronic storm that they went through. I know that's science fiction. I know that's science fiction.
Stranger things have happened.
But we have to start looking at that
episode.
Yes.
We have to start looking at the possibility that if science can't answer these questions, science fiction might have to be the way we look next. Give us your Bolita number.
44.
Thank you, Bruce. Thanks for being a great fan.
Thank you, Bruce.
And thanks for calling in tonight.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Caller, you're on the air with the Tampa Natives Show. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Cassandra Hare, and I'm calling from Tampa.
Hi, Cassandra. Nice to hear your voice.
Hi.
Is this your first time calling?
Well, kind of. I didn't make it on the air the last time when I called. So.
Well, that's right. Then now it's your first time calling, and that's for you, darling. Tell us. We've got 2 minutes. Tell us what you think happened to that airplane.
Well, I'm just thinking an unfortunate series of events. You know, with the theory that with the Rolls-Royce engines, the Rolls-Royce company is saying that the engines might have flown for another 500 or so miles. And with the transponders not working, what is the possibility of them having to recycle the transponders for some sort of mechanical issue, and then all of a sudden the pressure in the cabin just going off, or it's depressurizing, and they end up, of course, passing out, and you can't.
All of those are valid. If you remember what happened to Payne Stewart, the professional golfer, when they lost cabin pressure because they had a window blowout, that airplane crashed in a field in Indiana. But they sent 2 military airplanes wingtip to wingtip, and they followed it all the way because they could track that airplane. So everybody fell asleep in the airplane because obviously rapid decompression, they passed out. The airplane eventually ran out of fuel and crashed. That didn't happen here either, because if an airplane has a rapid decompression, that signal again is sent electronically and automatically to aircraft maintenance on the ground saying this airplane has a problem. Before the captain can get on his mic and squawk Mayday or that signal is automatically sent. And if there's an explosion, the signal is still sent, to let something has happened to this aircraft. And we don't have any indication that anything's happened. And that's what I think has everybody just so flummoxed. We don't have anything to go on. I don't even know how else to
They don't know what to say on the TV anymore. It's ridiculous.
It's as if the airplane was zapped by some kind of ray gun, some kind of technology that we don't have here on planet Earth.
Right, or beamed up.
We've all seen the movies, and it just disappears. So thank you for your call. Valid points all, but they've all been kind of discussed.
Yeah.
And there's two transponders on this airplane. Highly unlikely that you'd lose both of them in this case. You know what I mean? Cell phones, again, people, if there's impending something's happening, you're going to pick up your cell phone and try to make a call. You're going to do nothing. None of that ever happened. No distress, no Mayday. Can we get you to lead a number?
Let's see. How about 84?
Oops. Well, it's got to be below 75. I wish we had 100 balls to choose from, but we only have 75.
Hello. Good morning. Go ahead and give me 70.
Okay. 70 it is.
There it is.
Thank you, Cassandra. Tell your dad hello for us.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Well, we got less than 10 minutes to go. I guess this is a good time for us to talk a little bit about what we think happened. I'll go last. Stevie, you go first.
Well, I was kind of thinking what Marilyn was saying about a hijacking, maybe diverted, transponders turned off, diverted to an undisclosed location because maybe someone has some valuable information or top secret computer, laptop, or who knows with valuable info. I don't know. But that was my thought. But now, as I think about it further, I'm thinking maybe it was an explosion. But and like the caller said earlier on, that the ocean is so big, 3/4 of the world is ocean. I mean, it's very possible that it could maybe not be found. Maybe no debris trail is located or isolated. I just don't know. Those are my thoughts, my theory. But,
and we'll take them.
Okay.
And we'll take them.
It's
Stevie,
strange.
We'll put you down for it. I really don't know.
I really don't know.
Go ahead, darling.
That's strange.
Okay.
Now you can't say what I'm going to say because
well, I'm going to say whatever I want to say because you're not the boss of me.
We've been talking about this. 2 snaps.
So what I'm going to say is I think it was hijacked, but I think it was hijacked by something from another place out there in the solar system. And if we think that we're the only people around in this solar system, in this world, that's silly. There's all, people have sightings all the time. Different things have happened. It's just, I think it's very probable.
So I'm putting Sally down for
UFOs.
Extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
I'm putting her down for UFOs.
They just reached down, picked it up, and took it away.
Snatched it away. Mothership snatched it away. How much time do we have back? Don't let me go over.
We have a video.
Okay, a little more than 3 minutes. I'm going to go real fast and just tell you, in my almost 30 years of flying flying over across the Atlantic countless times, deep South America, over the Amazon rainforest, middle of the night, countless times. Never encountered anything strange, weird, looking out the window, what was that flash, what was this? And believe me, I was one that was always looking for it. I was hoping to find it because, I'm the guy that's always looking to see if we can make contact. I don't know, but as we continue to go down the wormhole on this, I've seen too many movies, whether it's Contact with Jodie Foster, Final Countdown, as I was speaking to earlier. I just think that we have to look at the possibility that we may never find this airplane We may never know what happened to this airplane, and as tragic as that is for the people that lost loved ones on this airplane,
Terrible.
crew members included,
Yep.
first and foremost, we don't know. We have airplanes recorded flying through the Bermuda Triangle that went in, never came out. They never showed up. This isn't the time of Amelia Earhart where, you know, she's flying across the Pacific and we lose track of her for a little while until she comes out on the other end.
We have every
this is
kind of
2014.
technology now.
We've got super technology that they can look in your window at your house if they need to.
Yes.
I don't know. Keep an eye on the conversations between astrophysicists and nuclear science and the science community. Let's look to the science community to try to give us some answers. And soon enough, they're going to have to start looking at the possibility that it could be something. Well, you know, a portal, a time portal opened up.
A wormhole.
And they may have gone through it.
Well, kind of like you alluded to with Final Countdown, there was a real situation, Flight 19, in 1945, December 1945. A whole squadron of planes left Fort Lauderdale. Do you remember that?
Of course.
Over the Bermuda Triangle.
Documented.
Well, then they couldn't find the planes or any of the pilots. Well, they sent about 8 hours later a rescue search team with 13 crew members aboard, and that plane disappeared.
And look up the
never
movie.
to be seen again.
And look up the movie Langoliers. Langoliers. It's a Stephen King novel that was made into a television series. Pretty scary stuff. All right, Stevie, I'm gonna let you. No, baby, I'm gonna let you draw that.
Really?
Yeah, get in there and get you one, honey. Get in there and get you one. This is for a bottle of Joe and Sons olive oils.
Number
or balsam,
33.
Or balsamic.
Which
infused balsamic vinegar.
is number 33.
Closest to without going over 32,
That
31.
is, oh my gosh, you called it, Steve. Marilyn Messina.
I knew she was going to win.
Oh, wow. Marilyn, you won. When you go to work tomorrow, Marilyn, pick whatever you like out of your own inventory. That
olive oil or
is
balsamic
and you know the best one.
amazing. And Marilyn, give us a call sometime real soon because we want to set up an event at your store so we can get all the Tampa natives to come out and sample some of your goods. Talked to Andrea about that recently, so make sure you get with us and let us know. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, in studio with us, we're going to have Cam Dilley and Rob Lorai from WMNF.
Exciting.
We can't
What a
wait.
great
It's going to be a
show.
great show. We're going to talk about the history of public radio, WMNF, right here in Tampa.
Great stuff.
Let me just say thank you, Becky Todd. Thank you, Audrey. Thank you, Nick, for answering our phones tonight, standing in for Hello, Dory. Cups up, everyone, because we got about 15 seconds to go. On behalf of Tampa, Steve, and the 15-minute girl, I'm Mario Nunez. Thanks for your calls tonight. Salute and happy days. We love you, Tampa.
Yes, we do.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Back when we were younger and everything seemed new, we used to have a lot of fun, yes we did, no matter what we do. Sleepy days, long summer nights, going anywhere we please, with love that I could call my own, love that I've always known, the city that I call my home, a home from which I never roam. This love affair was meant to be. I love her and she loves me. I remember Tampa, oh, she remembers me. She remembers me. I remember, yeah, yes I do. Oh, I remember, yeah, me and you. I'm a Tampa native, Tampa native, can't you see? I will share my story with you to preserve its history.
All right now, don't forget, Thursdays, 7 p.m. on TBCN, home of the Tampa Natives Show.